Welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2013 look at top items, and this item is going to be, or this group of items is going to be the top offenses. So Matt and I have discussed things. Matt's thrown a list together, and we're going to count down the top 5.
Yeah, these are the top 5 offenses for this upcoming season. Please keep that in mind.
Yes.
This upcoming season. Number 5, this team loaded with talent. If I was still coaching, I'd love to give this a shot for myself. The West Mecklenburg Hawks, number 5 offensively, and I'll tell you, the couple of things that kept these guys down, only one returning offensive lineman in Sterling Houston, 6'5", 300 pounds. Mentioned him on the players to watch. Obviously a D1 level size talent. But they've got 4 offensive linemen they got to replace. That's the only thing that kept these guys down. Otherwise, you got Jalen McClendon committed to NC State at quarterback. Of course, we all know about him: the size, the arm, all the physical talent in the world that you want in a quarterback. I've talked about I call them the dynamic duo in the backfield: Sean Wilson and Van Smith. I mean, skilled guys on the outside. A couple of transfers have come in, and I think are going to help them there. These guys get into space. It's, blink and they're in the end zone. Just a dynamic offensive team here in West Met.
Exactly. They got kids that get them into space. Give them just a little bit of space, and they'll make space. So look for the team to play the edges a lot to be able to put those kids into position. My only question about this offense is, will they be able to throw the ball? How vertical can they get, and how accurate can they get? Obviously, they got a great quarterback who can move around and make himself in position, but it's got to be that connection between him and the receiver. Could be a very dynamic offense, especially if they get that clicked into where we think it could and should be. Great, they'll be dangerous in the punt return game, and they'll be dangerous in the kick return game. Wilson back there just can kill you.
Coming in at number 4, and this one may surprise some people, but not to those that follow high school football here in Charlotte, the Providence Panthers. You talk about a team that has some real punch. These guys, they're gonna have a different quarterback, but I believe in Coach Justin Harden's ability offensively to get these guys going. Heard some reports about 7-on-7s. Now, I don't put a lot of stock into these, but however, reports have said these guys look really good. Of course, they got Austin Prohl at receiver, and the biggest thing with these guys is that big offensive line. Headed by Bentley Spain, committed going to Carolina. You got a big offensive line in high school, you can do a lot of things. And I think if they find the right running back, and if it is Gio Gonzalez like it was last year, that's going to be enough to score a lot of points over there in Providence.
Matt, the last time Harden coached this team, they were known for the big lines. Definitely had offensive punch. As you put it, and I believe it's kind of hard to pick a team that maybe overall in the conference may not be up towards the top of their conference, but they do have. I'll agree with your assessment of them having the potential there on offense for some big punch, especially at wide receiver.
Yeah. Number 3. This is a team, and it's a good offensive team when you know what's coming, and you still can't stop it. Year in and year out, and that's Charlotte Catholic Cougars. That Delaware wing tee, all that misdirection and counters and linemen pulling, and you got 3 tight ends on the field all the time. It's a nightmare trying to stop those guys. And this year, with Elijah Hood coming back as a senior, over 3,000 yards rushing. I mean, that's just it's almost unheard of. And what they do offensively, the scheme and everything, it's just tough to stop. And no matter how much you try to replicate it in practice, you can't stop it. Now, you may slow it down a little bit, but you're not going to stop it.
That's true. You got one guy, Elijah Hood, that can do so much for you. You have offensive linemen that maybe are not always the biggest or the fastest on the field, but they're like a machine in how they operate and how they block. I do expect to see that, you know, I saw in the state championship game that the double wing wasn't ran every play in that game. So I'm going to look to see that maybe they might make some adjustments that's going to be better suited towards Elijah. You know, Elijah can, at least at this level, he can be both dangerous between the tackles and out on the edge. He's not the fastest guy on the field, but in most games he's the fastest guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the fastest. So, you know, they don't have to work to put him in space. He works to get into space. So he can bull right over just about everybody. And I expect to see them try to do a little bit more. You know, the kid's going to get 30 touches a game probably.
Definitely. Coming in at number 2, Mallard Creek Mavericks. You've heard all summer these guys have gone and won 7-on-7 tournaments, or they've been in the finals, and that they've got a returning quarterback in Emery Scaife, left-hander, really good, I think, mechanic-wise, and that's a testament to Coach Aaron Brand and what he does with him in teaching not only techniques but schemes and reads. Obviously, Coach Brand studied under Tom Knotts, and I've got a lot of respect for him in his offensive mind. They've also, of course, they've got big linemen. It seems like it's turning into a real program out there. You know, they don't rebuild, they reload. That's what they say about good programs, and this is definitely one of them. Jalen Samuels, used him at tight end a lot last year, getting down the slot. He's going to be one to watch on the offensive side of the ball, along with Scaife and quarterback.
Yeah, you know, quarterback's kind of a stability item for them this year, which is, you know, I don't know how many times have they had the same quarterback return.
That's not very often.
Not very often. Offensive line, you mentioned them, and you know, I got to give them props. They're very well coached. And,
yes.
You know, I would put their offensive line as one of the best in the city over the last several years, and a lot of it has to do, obviously, to do with coaching. They are very well coached. They do work well. The machine-like wise on the field, kind of the same kind of comments we make about the Catholic offensive line. And Brand is definitely he's a good offensive mind, and he's got the talent to go with it. So when you've got a good offensive mind like that, with the talent that Mallard Creek has, that's why they're sitting there at number 2, and we'll see why they'll be my pick for the best team in the area.
Coming in at number 1, the Independence Patriots. And you look at these guys on the offensive side of the ball, these guys are loaded. I mean, you started quarterback with junior Kelvin Hopkins, came in last year and played well under some tough circumstances in the playoffs against Butler. He's not the biggest kid, but I've heard a comparison to Anthony Carruthers, previously of Independence. He's an accurate kid that can throw the ball. He's got a good arm, good knowledge of Coach Evans' offense. And we mentioned Coach Evans earlier. Obviously, he's a very good offensive mind. Last year, Independence put up a lot of points. Unfortunately, they were in some shootouts due to some defensive issues. But you look at these guys this year, you got the guy at center going to NC State, and then you've got the running back, Isaiah Robinson. I tell you, he's a 5'10", 220, but he can run away from you too, or run over you. So that's you've got that going with the passing game and some of the receivers they've got on the outside that can make plays. You've got a really, really tough assignment of trying to slow these guys down this year.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the running back, and I used to throw football around with him when he was 5, 7 years old. I can't remember now. his stepdad coached at Olympic, and when I heard he was going to Independence, his dad told me, or stepdad told me, that I think right at the same height, that he was around 200 pounds then, and I think he's had a body fat of about 7%, something like that. You know, it's amazing for a freshman. I think the biggest challenge for Evans is going to be, not to throw the ball too much, because we know in his heart of hearts that's what he wants to do. But he's got a potentially one of the best running attacks in the city this season, and I would say maybe one of the best running attacks that Independence has had, at least through all the Tommy Notch years. I think they're really set up well to be able to put a lot of yards or in the stat sheet just on the ground, and of course they've got the athletes to go vertical on you too. So this is why we've got them as the #1 offense. They've got all the tools, good coaching, just really I think the whole entire package. They should be an exciting offense this year.
Definitely. Those are our top 5 offenses. Talk about it on the forums, because we know you will.
Yep, we know you got differing agree. Thank you.